Hey folks, welcome back to DCS. Today we're going to be flying out the MiG-29A Fulcrum on Enigma's Cold War server. You can only spawn it at the rearmost airbase for your team. Blue have the Tomcat as a counterpart to it. Currently, my team are suffering. We've been completely pushed back to our rear lines. As such, my transit to the combat area is very, very short. My radar and weapon load make me far more threatening than anything else on the server, bar the Tomcat. So the idea is that with these aircraft being set up in the way that they are, they can combat a loss for your team. If you're right on the back burner, this thing can help push a comeback. So that's what we're going to try and do today. So obviously, if my team's losing, it's going to be because of ground attackers primarily. The way the campaign has progressed on this server is that ground units are destroyed, and the more that are lost per hex, the more the progression works in the favour of the pushers, and that's how the front line has progressed forward. So attackers are my primary target. I found an A-10 with the EWR reports quite close to me now. Knocking them out will give our team the best chance of not being pushed back. Destroying the enemy's fighters will give our attackers the best chance of actually pushing the front line back the other way. So if I can kill attackers, that's great. It's going to halt Blue's progress. But if I can kill fighters, or even just distract them, not even kill them, just keep them tied up so that they can't destroy our attackers, then that will also help us to push the line back the other way. So our mission really is just disruption. Our sensor suite is powerful enough that we can generally locate the enemy far more easily than they can locate us, and we can kill them in one pass if they remain unaware. So if I play my cards right, this is just a free kill farming machine. But the difficulty comes from the logistical aspect of managing your fuel and stuff, because in full burner, the Fulcrum literally has about 3 minutes of flight time. And if you get into a merge, you kind of need the afterburner to give you the performance advantage. If you don't use the afterburner, then you're really not that much better off than an F5 or a MiG-21. So the idea is to avoid a merge at all costs and rely on the sensor suite to just decimate everything. If you do get into a merge, then you have high off-bore sight Fox 2s that can just kill the enemy without you needing to use your performance advantage and thus save your fuel. But that is a little bit dull. So there'll be times in this video where we do commit to a turn fight, even if it might not be the best idea ever. The next kill of this sortie was on an FA6 Sabre. So I found him on radar, locked him up from max range because he doesn't have an RWR, so he has absolutely no idea that I'm locking him. He's probably not expecting to kill me. I think that would be silly, but he's clearly hanging low to try and limit the chance that I'll find him on radar. Of course he's not going to know that I have, so just to make my life easier, I fire an R27 at him from 28-ish kilometers, 8,000 meters altitude down to the deck, full well knowing that he doesn't know it's coming. So I fire it above the clouds on purpose so that the missile's motor burns out before it breaches them, because then he'll never see a smoke trail, which means he has no chance to defend it, which means that this is potentially the longest range R27 kill I've ever had on the least deserving target I've ever fired one at, really. I do feel a little bit dirty, but you know, sometimes it's just better to get the easy kills and not get tied up, because it probably would have actually been a bit of a pain in the ass to try and dogfight a Sabre. It definitely would have wasted a lot of fuel, and they tend to have a very low IR signature, so I'm not sure I actually would have got a lock on him with the R73s. Somewhat annoyingly, after that Sabre kill, the server crashed, which meant that I lost the points that I needed to spawn the Fulcrum. Thankfully, I still had enough to spawn it again anyway. So we take back off, we climb up to altitude to conserve fuel and extend our range a bit, and then we just loiter around along the front line, so that any attackers that come in, because they'll have to come to us to destroy our units, I can just swoop down on and kill. And if I'm high up, that can entice fighters, especially Phantoms, to come and have a go at me, because their radar actually works when they're looking up. So I'm cruising around at altitude, I'm above the first cloud layer, so that I have a bit of an advantage locating them with radar before they locate me visually. But then I see that there's two Vigans coming in hot, and they're quite far away at the moment, but 73 kilometers really goes quite fast. You're looking at like less than 5 minutes. So there's a huge mountain range in front of me, and just over it is an enemy airbase. So my plan is to dive to the deck and basically use this mountain range to deny Phantoms a lock on me, because they'll have to be looking down on me as they crest over the ridge, but also give me the edge with my ACM radar modes if it does get into close range, and then I can just use my R73s to down whatever shows up. And the first two contenders are those two Vigans, so we've got one of them locked there. We actually have the other on radar as well, so I'll keep unlocking and relocking just to get an idea of where they are, and then we just ambush them, and it goes down like this. Very shortly after those two Vigan kills, I get pop-up at extremely close range from an F5. Currently he's 0.6 kilometers away from me apparently, which is kind of panic stations territory, because if he gets my 6 at that range, that's a missile shot. And if I don't see it coming, I can't flare it, and he will kill me. I don't want to flare prematurely, because if he hasn't seen me yet, he surely will if I start illuminating my position with flares. So I'm frantically circling, using the vertical scan radar mode to try and find him. And I just basically don't for ages. Me and the Tomcat are the only things on the server that get all aspect heaters. So they can only lock me from like a side on, maybe like 120 degree aspect when I've got the afterburners on, because the afterburners on this thing are about fucking 9 meters long. I get very lucky with an update that says that he's on my 6, and as we look around I actually see the missile get launched. We managed to flare it off, and then a rather unceremonious thing happens which denies me the kill, and he ripped his wings off trying to turn after me, which is a little bit disheartening because I was quite looking forward to having a dogfight. Speaking of having a dogfight, hot on the heels of that F5 was an F4 Phantom. He did manage to get a missile off on before I saw him, but thankfully we were able to defeat it kinematically. We reached the merge, I go full burner and just loop over the top of him. He tries to follow into the vertical, but he's not going to be able to match a Fulcrum's performance in a Phantom. Basically just take my time with this guy. Next closest contact is 90 kilometers away, and my intention is to land after this anyway because of the fuel burn that this fight's going to cost. So I go for the gun kill, but he actually ends up crashing before the rounds connect. So I feel a little bit robbed this sortie, because technically the F5 and the Phantom both died because of me, but the credit wasn't attributed to me, so you can't win them all, I suppose. So we get back up, we head back in, and the first contact we get on the EWR reports is an F5. So this is quite similar to that Sabre engagement that we had with the R27 from earlier, except the F5 actually does have an RWR. So he will know when I fire the missile, and if I fire it now, all he has to do is turn around and it just won't reach him, and then I'll have to chase him down and it'll waste a tremendous amount of fuel, and the less fuel I have, the harder it is to defend myself against whatever might come next. So I wait for ages. We're about 7 kilometers when I fire the missile. If he turned cold at that point, there's a chance it'd still get him. What happens though is that in his attempt to dodge it, he rips his own wings off again. So I've still not got another kill. Things start improving a little bit from the next thing. So there's another Phantom up ahead, and I can see he's launching Mavericks or some sort of out-to-ground missile at some ground units, and he's being sprayed at by a Vulcan, or a Shulker. It'll be a Shulker. And then he turns cold, so I'm not sure if he's actually aware of me and he's trying to get some separation, or if he's completely oblivious and he's just naturally doing another turnaround to come back in on the target. But as he starts to climb away, I actually see him jettison some ordnance. I would only do that if I was trying to shed weight to make myself more, you know, nimble for a dogfight. I don't think I'd turn back in on a Fulcrum at close range though, but he does flare off my R73 to his credit. And at this point, I'm not doing great for fuel, so I'm going to let this fight play out and see if I can avoid using the afterburner if I don't have to, just because it will prolong any chance that I have to continue killing more things after this guy. So we have him queued up for another R73, but I figure this aspect, he looks pretty damn slow. I'm just going to see if I can go for the gun kill, and the radar gun sight makes this so beautifully easy. My speed range was just right to make aiming easy. Shortly after them, we found another Phantom, and this guy was just oblivious. He had no idea I was here, he didn't react, he didn't flare, didn't do anything. So super easy kill there. So the last time I was in this situation with an A10, he flared my missile off. And I don't want to waste them when I've only got 2 left. So my plan was to sort of fly in and stay high, flip invert when we get close, and then just dive on him from above and gun kill him. Because as I'm diving, I don't need to use any throttle. I'm actually idle throttle right now. I'm intending to let my speed bleed down to like 800 or so kilometers per hour just so that my turn rate is as good as it can be. But I was worried about losing vis if I did it properly, so I kind of bodged my approach and then I over rudder and completely fuck the gunshot. But it is just an A10, right? So I just boost the throttle. We're still not going above mil. We climb up over him, we just come back down, and we go for it again. And every time I need to do this, it's just wasting fuel, and I can't really afford to waste the fuel. I thought this was going to be a done deal, and the shots look good, but they miss. It must have been a very close miss. And at this point, the A10 is actually quite threatening at low altitude. I can obviously use my afterburner to pick the speed up quickly, but it's better to use altitude and dive to get my energy back. At this point, I can't do that because I'm too low, and I don't want to use the burner because I'm too low on fuel. So I just wrap the fire up with an R73. And honestly, I should have just done that in the first place if I was going to botch the gunshot, but I was hoping that I'd have set myself up for things a little bit better. Alright, so this is an actual dogfight now with an F4, and over the last 3-4 kills of this sort, I've lost count. I've been saying that I'm on low fuel basically every single time, and that's because the MiG-29's fuel burn rate is just horrendous. But if you climb and you drop your throttle to nothing whilst you're cruising around, then it's almost like you get it back. It's like if you've ever messed around with the miles per gallon economy in your car, you can see it going up when you're basically not on the power, shooting back down when you are on it. So as long as you cruise between instances of fighting without using any power, then you don't feel like you're losing any for the transits, and it just all gets bled away for the actual fights. So we merged with this guy. He managed to kinetically defeat an R73. I'm going up. I'm not using the afterburner because I genuinely can't afford to right now. But I don't think I need to. So we're coming down. He is going up. This is fine. As long as he's not getting his nose on me, he can't fire on me, and I can still outturn him, outmaneuver him, and probably match his acceleration even without using the afterburner. The MiG-29 has an insane thrust-to-weight ratio. We're doing the same thing again, so we're in a kind of a vertical rate fight. Now prolonged, this will probably go in his favour because he can use his afterburners, but he transitions to a flat rate. So what I do here is actually drop my landing flaps so that I can stay very close to him and cut his turn. So instead of like continuing a traditional 2-cycle and try and get to his control zone over a longer period, I intentionally drop the speed, drop the flaps and turn tight. And he makes the mistake of reversing his turn, which he really shouldn't have done, and that just gives me that free shot. If he had kept going around to the left, he probably would have actually killed me because I would have been forced to use the afterburner at that point, and then I more than likely wouldn't have actually made it to the base to land, so I just wouldn't have had the fuel left. So right now the fuel's saying that I have a 180 kilometer range. I'm looking at the map. My options are to land at Girard or Tabka. Tabka's much further away, but looking at the EWR reports, the bearing to Girard is literally where 3 F5s are. They're all coming in, they're about where Girard actually is, they're all at high altitude, and they're all bearing down on me, and there's no way on earth I can do a 3-on-1 with this amount of fuel. So my options are rush to Girard and hope that it has air defences, and then hope that the air defences are sufficient to hold the F5s off whilst I land I'll be extremely vulnerable whilst I'm doing that, and I literally have one R27 left, so I can probably go for one kill if I really hold the shot until point blank, but then I'm boned if the other two decide to stick around. Even if the airbase is shooting at them, they have a pretty high chance of being able to Fox 2 me before I get wheels down. So I instead decide to divert to Tabka, and by sheer fluke and luck, they all peel off as I extend away. I think they must have been on lowish fuel themselves, perhaps they didn't want to chase me down that far. So we do make it there. We make it there safe, and I have the silky smoothest landing that I think I've ever had in the MiG-29. Now before anyone moans in the comments, I'm looking at you here, Murray. I choose to use the taxiway to land because I don't know what the state of the runway is at this airbase. This is our most furthest forward frontline airbase, and I'm guessing that if any of them have been attacked by the enemy, it'll be this one. So I'm not expecting there to be any sound defences here at all. I'm expecting the runway to have been bombed to fuck. We are actually wheels down right now. I landed a little bit quick, but because I'm so damn floaty, it helps to offset the wheels exploding, because usually you pop a tyre above about 270 knots. We actually wheels down at about 310, but we were basically still flying and the wheels were just in contact, so silky smooth. And I decided to pop the chute rather than pumping the brakes, because if you apply the brakes for too long, too hard, and I don't have them bound to an axis, then the brakes themselves can burst your tyres if you're too fast, so using the chute is just a safer way of saving your tyres. And then we wang it in this hangar on the left, because there are still some F5s bearing down and I don't want to be sat in the open, so we sit in there for a rearm before we make it back out. And then the true most terrifying portion of this whole sortie, of this whole session. I have no idea why my plane is doing this, but you see when my plan was to throttle up on one engine, and it is the left one that I have, so really that should help me not nose into the wall on the left. I was going to taxi on one engine to get to the foot of the runway, and then by then the second one would have been ready, and I've been able to take off without having to linger around too much, because there is currently a phantom within 10 kilometers of the airbase that I'm quite worried about being bombed by. But for some reason, my plane decides to rotate me to the left, even though I'm full rudder right, my flaps are up, and I'm using high gain steering, and it's still very slowly creeping me to the left. And I was wondering, maybe the wing clipped an object in the hangar and it's like pivoted me, but there's nothing there. Like, you can see my nose wheel right here, it's nowhere near pointing there, but I'm still being edged left. Yeah, this was scarier than any of the actual fights, honestly, because if I'd had to repair this from here, it would have taken forever, and if I'd reslotted, I'd have had to come all the way from the northmost. It was like a 300-mile transit, honestly. Didn't need that stress. So the video's rounded down. There's only two guys left. They're both phantoms. One of them's extremely close to the airbase, and the fact that he didn't get shot at by it, I don't think there are any SAM defences left at this airbase. So I take off, immediately wheels up, radar is immediately on, we've got the R27s selected, turn onto his bearing, he's 9 kilometers away, setting the radar up to look in the right spot, and where is he? I think we go under him. The EWR reports must have a little bit of lag. So I see something up there, but it's actually the flak bursts from our ground units that were shooting at him. There's more overhead. I'm not sure what any of these flak bursts are for, because looking behind me I can actually see the airbase AAA shooting at him, the shulkers, and they're way back there. So the flak bursts, it's almost like they were meant for me. Quite strange. I don't know how people are unaware of the fact that I'm here. The EWR reports should have been lighting me up. This guy should have been focusing me down, but he just didn't. So you fire an R73 at him. He's head on with me right now. He does flare, but it's just a little bit too little too late. Folds him in half and he goes in. And then the last kill of the sortie is the next phantom that we encounter, who's a little bit further afield. And it's a very similar story with this guy. He makes no attempts to engage me. He's seemingly utterly oblivious. He's not even particularly quick. He's flying directly towards me. I'm not sure what was going on in his head, to be honest. So we save the R27 and we go in for an R73, and he does nothing, so it gets him. And then before I can do anything else, the server crashes again. So that's going to be it. for today, folks. So I hope you've enjoyed. Thanks a lot for watching. We didn't actually manage to win the campaign or claw it back because the next day the rotation switched over to 70s. It's on 80s in this video. So yeah, as soon as I left, blue just steamrolled everyone. But we tried. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.